Going for boost. Well, I think going for boost, if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Oh God. Never. Yeah, never. Always go for ball.
Yeah.
Number one rule of Rocket League.
Welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, where three aggressively average Rocket League players talk about everything RLCS with your hosts, Ace, Code Red Jack, Kyle Cube, and AJ Binky. So, if you've ever wondered when the best time to go for Boost Over Ball is, you've come to the right place.
Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle K-Cube, and today I'm joined by AJ Binky and Red as we interview DJTJ, the president and director of esports at the University of Georgia, the head of the Ghost Gaming Ambassador Program, and RLCS caster for Shmongolia in sub-Saharan Africa. This is a conversation that you guys won't want to miss. We talk about how he got into esports, how he got into casting, his playing career, and more. So without further ado, we will jump right into our interview with DJTJ. Okay, here. This time it is recording, and I made sure to put it on the hard drive that has enough space. So there we go.
Okay.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into esports and, kind of Rocket League specifically?
Yeah, so Rocket League basically has always been a fun game to me. I've always enjoyed playing with friends, and it's always been a casual thing for me. And especially, I played on PC on like an all-in-one computer back like a few weeks after release date. And I have old screenshots on my Steam profile for it. It's the only reason I even remember it. And then I kind of let the game go after a little bit. I was young. I didn't really like it. It wasn't amazing. And, I mean, everybody tries to remember Rocket League at launch. It was an iffy game at the time. It was definitely getting there, but it struggled originally. And then kind of let it go. And then back in 2017 was when I started to pick it up again, but on console, on my Xbox. So I got back into it a little bit there. And again, it was mostly casual. And then I was playing 3 sports at the time, which was football, basketball, baseball. My dad was my coach, so he was always instilling being competitive and wanting to win and wanting to learn and wanting to get better. So that was part of the reason why I found Rocket League so interesting in the first place, just because I always wanted to learn, and there's a million different things to learn and things that are still being learned to this day. So that was kind of what got me into the game. And then what actually got me into it competitively, because I was probably like diamond or plat in like 2017, 2018. What got me into it competitively was that then I had a sports injury that took me out of sports for a few months, which then ended up becoming years, which at the time I didn't know. But in that time period, which that's a whole other story we can get into in a little bit. But that's a whole other story. And in that gap of sports, I kind of had a need to be competitive, a need to be good at something, a need to want to learn, just something to put my energy into, something fun, something that wasn't school, obviously. So that's how I got into Rocket League competitively. And then I'll wait because I'm sure we're going to get into it. But yeah, that's a very small history. And I think I actually joined my high school program in late 2018 or 2019.
Okay. I always like hearing like the origin story for people, right? And I have always contended that, a lot of the people who play Rocket League at a very high level or, compete in it at all came from like traditional sports backgrounds. So, similar to you, I grew up playing sports. I played hockey and soccer, and I played through high school, and, but my high school did not have an esports program. And so I didn't really start competing hardcore with it until I got into college, and we go from there, right? It's a never ending cycle from that point. But do you think your like traditional sports background has like helped you, like it like being able to compete in esports has given you like another outlet to compete?
Yeah, I think it definitely gave me an edge in competition. I feel like being used to traditional sport, the one that I remember the most clearly, because I played baseball the longest, so that's the one that I had the most clear memories of. And I can remember 1,000 times where in baseball, like getting hit by a pitch or like full count, bottom of the ninth. Like I played for so long that I think I kind of got used to stress and pressure, not in an unhealthy way, but in a way where it made me a better person and a better competitor. And in Rocket League, I mean, this game breeds close situations, especially now that I've been casting. I kind of get to help build that suspense, and it's a weird full circle moment for me. But no, I mean, I definitely think it gave me an edge. I think as a leader, as a teammate, and just in my own mental space, I think it was very helpful.
Okay. So you play, you cast.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is there anything else that you do in the scene?
Yeah. Do you want me to list like everything I do?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah. So all right. So kicking it off at the very top. So I run everything at Esports at UGA. I am the director. There's no like faculty involved, so we're purely student ran. So budgeting, scheduling, I mean, anything and everything that people get paid salaries to do across the nation, I do here for free because it's just the way it is. So that takes up the most of my work. But I mean, it's been awesome. I manage a club of 2,000 students. We are one of the biggest clubs on campus, which on a campus of 30,000 is rough. But I mean, 2,000 out of 30,000, that's a good percentage for one club. So that's my main thing. And then I work with Ghost Gaming as their lead ambassador. So I help run the ambassador program, which is our initiative to help kind of bring up collegiate faces from across the Southeast and kind of get the next generation of talent in front of the spotlight. So that's amazing. I coach for the Ghost Gaming Academy. Funny enough, I'm the only Rocket League coach in Ghost right now because we had Fakey originally, but Ghost doesn't have a Rocket League team, so he left.
Right.
So I'm the only Rocket League coach in Ghosts, and I get paid. So technically, I'm a professional Rocket League coach. but but that's one of my other big things. And then just going down the list from there. So I cast for the Southeastern Esports League, the Collegiate Conference Series, and then I do freelance for some other minor collegiate leagues, like like I have a lot of friends in Peach Belt, a lot of friends in NACE. Um, I've done some work with Esports U and some of their events before, and then obviously some minor lands around the southeast that I've gotten to go to, which I just got back from one a week ago. So that's been the most recent thing. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think about my other small. I do a lot of small things too. Like I'm the captain of the Rocket League team at UGA, and so I do that. And I'm technically the Rocket League coordinator as well. I'm one of them. So, funny enough, a lot of what I do ends up overflowing into each other. So it feels like one job, but it's really like 4 or 5 different things at once.
Yeah, I sounds like you stay busy for sure.
Just a little bit.
I got a quick question for you here. So, being a former player, now coach, and also kind of in that same phase running the Rocket League program while being a player, how is it working with your team since you are the director, since you're kind of the captain, you're the one that runs that team? How's it still coming off being a player for that same team? Because I know I ran into struggles where I was wanting to be that captain, be that kind of leading figure, but also be, one of the guys, one of the teammates, being able to have that kind of chemistry with my team.
Yeah, so when I first came in to take over esports at UGA, I came in as a freshman before I even took my first class at UGA. I was running the program when I had gotten officially accepted. So when I came in from that perspective, a lot of people treated me with respect, and it was kind of weird to get like friends, like friendly. I think that makes sense. But the Rocket League players at UGA, that was what I originally wanted to do when I came here, which I wanted to play Rocket League. Like I love UGA. I've always been a UGA fan. I just wanted to represent. That was way before I even thought about applying to take that president/director role. Um, so I had already kind of made friends with the Rocket League guys, and then I became the leader. So in that sense, I've never really had too much of an issue with it. There's obviously a few minor hiccups because a lot of executive decisions have to be made um, on my part for the team, for the club, and some of those go against each other. Because just as an example, like if we were gonna have Rocket League at an event we're running this year, but it wouldn't be the most sensible option, I have to do what's best for the club, so the team. Granted, Rocket League's been very popular in the Southeast, so I haven't really had to do that. But there's definitely a little bit of internal conflict. But I mean, I love my guys. We go out to dinner a lot. We spend hours and hours in calls going over gameplay. And when I'm in a VC with my team, I'm a player first because that's where I came from. That's my origin, and I'm too competitive to be anything other than a player first. So I mean, I'm normally so focused in as a player, and I'm normally giving energy to my teams in a way that it doesn't come off as me being like a dictator, just me being a captain. If that makes sense. But yeah, I think that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So, and Southeastern Esports League, is that the SEC's esports league, or is it a little bit different?
So the SEC does not sponsor anything.
Well,
We are the most behind by miles. Welcome to Southeastern Esports. It is severely underfunded, like most collegiate esports, except we also then get looked down upon because that's just the way the Southeast is. A lot of older people in power who aren't willing to change their morals and ideals, which there's no disrespect to anybody at the University of Georgia or in any of the other companies I work with. But some people just don't see the vision. And you can sit here and I can present and say, hey, look, we affect this amount of people. We give you guys this value. People want to come here to be a part of what we're building. And people just aren't willing to budge. So no, SEC does not sponsor anything. The that's just the Southeastern Esports League. That's where SEL comes from. And that's an independently ran thing that is ran by Gaming Oasis, which is a company based out of Huntsville, Alabama.
okay, interesting. Because I know, like, and I live in the heart of Big Ten country, so it's a little bit different. But they have like the Big Ten Rocket League, and it's like kind of affiliated, but also kind of not because it's all club programs. Michigan State just went varsity. This is like this school year, so like like last fall was the first year that they were a full varsity program.
And their lab is incredible too. I saw that.
Yes, it is. I am fortunate enough that the school that I coach at and help run their program is close to Michigan State, so I've gotten to see their facility. I've gotten to talk to their director to kind of see and hear about their vision. But like it's interesting because like I coach at a small private school, right? And so like for the longest time, that's the only way that you're going to be able to compete with the big schools in anything is in esports, because it's certainly not going to be in conventional sports, right? Because you don't have as big of a pull, right? So like why would you go to a small school when you could go to Georgia, right? Especially for something like football. I mean, if you're good enough to go, like that's where you're going to go. Yeah. But now that these D1 programs are starting to make it varsity, I think you're going to see a pretty big switch, and I think it's going to be pretty drastic on like how quickly these schools start to adopt it once like one domino falls, especially in each like conference now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on like the future of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and I'm very good friends with every SEC president and leader. We actually have a Discord that we made recently, and everybody, like, for example, like, I like to think I'm good friends with Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, and Alabama. But outside of that is where and Tennessee, I should throw that in there. But then, then the schools start getting further apart, and then it's kind of hard to keep in touch. So we just recently made a central hub for every SEC leader. So we're working on trying to get something cooking. It's obviously a very long road, especially in the SEC, which you would think with the SEC being so prideful about being like making all this money and being the leaders, you would think they'd want to hop in on it. But, obviously here we are. So I see the SEC joining, but the issue is that it's going to take a lot. And I think so far we've had a few schools who really lead the way. Obviously, with other major D1 schools getting a jump on us, it helps with that as well, because that's a point where I can go to someone and say, hey, look, this school, our rivals, are getting ahead of us. Like both Kentucky and Auburn have full labs. like $1 million worth of labs.
Right.
And I believe that Missouri just got one too. We are currently working on ours. Where it's a very long road. We're probably one of the hardest schools to get this whole thing going. Just because of how heavy Georgia is in at football, that I even know people and friends who are in other athletics who are getting disregarded or not getting paid or not getting the opportunities that football gets. And that's other D1 athletics. So then you look at it and you think, where the hell does esports fall in that? It's pretty low. So we're fighting an uphill battle. It hasn't been all negative. But I think that every school will come around, and I think that's what it takes specifically before the SEC hops in. I think it's going to take every school coming around and then putting the pressure on before the SEC does anything.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of agree, right? Like the bigger the institution, the harder it is to turn the ship. And I mean, personally, while it is currently male dominated, I feel like esports is a really good way to get around like a Title IX issue because it's a I'm going to say genderless sport, right? There's nothing inherent, like there's nothing about being, a guy that makes you better at it. So you don't have to consider that. And so like you don't have to like make multiple teams, right? And it's not like these high-end computers that you're putting in a lab can't be used for classes or for like graphic design or something like that if you so desired. So like I feel like it's a upfront investment that can kind of help you in like many different assets or facets of a program. But like you said, I think it will be a slow process, but I think it will happen as more and more schools start to adopt a varsity program and commit some resources to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big part. I'm giving a TED talk in a month about esports, and that's one of my biggest portions of that is that it's only a matter of time. Esports is only getting better. Granted, there is a lot of tech industry issues right now, and esports is kind of suffering, but the concept and the industry will not dissipate. There's too much buy-in, there's too much content, there's too much in gaming that's being evolved, especially Unreal Engine 5. That's something that we still haven't seen the full capacity of, and I can't even imagine what will happen once it starts getting used to its full potential. But I mean, games are never going to go anywhere, so esports won't go anywhere, and eventually people will have to adjust, or those people will fade out of their positions, and then the new generation will really make it what it is. So, yeah, no, I mean, we'll see.
Okay. And then I'll transition a little bit away from the collegiate discussion to talk some more about your casting experience. How did you first get involved in casting Rocket League?
Yeah, so funny enough, I've always been involved in sports, and anytime that people asked some random question about a sports team, I always seem to know it. Like I'd be watching games with my family, and they'd be like, "Oh, that player's doing this or whatever," and then I just for some odd reason was so like I forget the word to use, but I just was in love with sports and stats that I would just say like, no, the last 5 games he's actually shot blank percentage or whatever. And like nobody just does that. So I've always had a love for sports, and I've always like going to games has been incredible experiences every time. And so the next logical thing for me was I don't want to be a statistician because stats are cool and all, but math is lame. So I don't really want to get involved in all that. Um, and so and I've always had a loud voice. I might have to give y'all some clips to use, but I've always been an extremely loud player. Like baseball, football, basketball, esports, I have always been loud. Like I scream, I yell, I get hype. And so because of that and my vocal range, my parents have always said, like you'd be pretty good at casting if you tried it. And I just was kind of just like, I like being a player. And then as I got into college and competing at a school with no scholarship money, which I knew what I was getting into because I turned down scholarship offers to be at UGA. I knew that I wasn't going to have like a CRL team because I turned that down. But hold on, I'm getting back to my point. But like, oh my God, I'm losing it. We're talking about getting into casting, and I'm completely losing my middle transition here.
You're all good.
Basically getting into UGA. Okay, I'm back on it. I knew that I wasn't going to be a player forever, and I still don't know how much longer I'm going to play. And that's another topic of conversation about the collegiate team here at UGA and all that. But with that, that's when I started actually trying casting and picking up a few series here and there because I made a lot of like high level connections. Because in high school, like I won 2 state championships in Rocket League and a national championship, and I met a lot of really amazing people through that. People who are now professionals or coaches or casters, all at the RLCS level. So I've got a lot of resources to pull from, which has always been huge. And so I jumped into casting. My first casting gig ever was a LAN, back in my hometown. It was my spring semester of um, it was my early spring semester of my freshman year. Basically a year ago, probably a little less or more, but actually, no, sorry, it's been 9 months, so a little less. And I casted that high school event, and the parents and players both gave me so much positive feedback. Like told me that they loved it, that they actually understood the game, that it was better than because and I don't mean any hate to the Georgia High School Sports Association, but the casters that they've picked out the last few years have been like monotone casters. So for a change of pace, people love that. And then from there, that kind of kickstarted things because now I had the confidence to actually go and talk to some of my higher level friends and be like, hey, like what can I learn? What can I get involved in? And then from there, I got my first consistent gig, which was a Southeastern Esports League. And so last semester, I picked up some of the B Stream games, which we don't have a B Stream. I basically just pick up games as they are rescheduled to any day other than Wednesday, because that's the mainstream day. So started picking up some games, started touching into different fan bases from across Southeast. Same type of reaction. People said they loved it. Um, the players were big fans of it because if you're getting broadcasted, you want to have moments you can go show people and be like, hey, I'm pretty good at the game, and this was epic. So I kind of helped bring that nature to that. And then from there, I then got moved to mainstream this year, which the moment that happened, which was right before the semester started, so probably like December, November, that's when things kind of skyrocketed. So I got a lot more screen time, started casting a lot more games. I got involved with the Collegiate Conference Series. So that's now a whole other slew of fan bases up north that I'm reaching now, both north and west. So now I've casted as far as California to Virginia to Georgia. Like I basically casted across the nation at this point. And so I've reached so many different fan bases. I've got a lot of really amazing feedback. And so I've kept going with it. And then I've been getting enough good feedback to where now other people have started reaching out to me to come talk about or to come cast their games or to cast a tournament. I've organized my own tournaments as well. I've personally ran both C and D tier Rocket League tournaments. Some that like the deleted XD roster, for example, the night that they became deleted XD, which was December 23rd of last year, they were playing in my tournament. And so that was another big platform I got to jump off of because there was a lot of attention there. And then more people saw my style and thought it was original and refreshing and just overall fun. And so then I got booked for my first actual full LAN, like a high level LAN. Not to say that the high school one wasn't, but obviously it's got a little more weight to it.
I mean, it's just different.
So exactly. Well, in collegiate level, like high school level, you get a few kids who are like SSL. Collegiate level, you get almost everybody is GC3 SSL. So yeah, there's the discrepancy there. So I went to Bluegrass Boost Battle, which was just 2-ish weeks ago, and that was incredible. I got to meet a lot of my Southeastern friends that I've had online because I've been casting their games. I got to meet a lot of them for the first time there. I got to carry my energy in person, probably blow out the eardrums of a few poor production managers, but it was worth it. It was a blast, and that went really well. And then with that, I then got to turn around, and then I met with the Mongolia guys, Wordy and his team in South Africa. They really liked my style, and now that I'm starting to build a resume, I could actually go to them and say, "Hey, look, I think it'd be great for both of us." And so then I got that gig, which is literally happened like 4 or 5 hours ago, and then in 2 weeks, I'm gonna be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for another LAN. This will be my first B tier event, and it'll be a LAN. So that's going to be a blast. That's being hosted by Syracuse and Shenandoah. And that's going to have like Like we're talking Maryville, like the top of the top collegiate teams will be there. So that'll be probably probably my biggest event, other than doing the RLCS stuff, obviously. But it will be my biggest LAN for sure, my first B tier event. So it'll be good. I'm hoping I'll get a Liquipedia page after. I might have enough points. So we'll see. And I hope there's still more to come. I'm still hoping that maybe there's a few other leagues and tournaments that I'll get invited out to cast. There's a chance this summer I may be invited places, but time will tell. But yeah, so it's been a very quick 9-month casting journey, and I've kind of made it from, I guess, nothing to RLCS of some kind. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been inspiring to see that a different career path is working out for me.
Well, first and foremost on that one, congratulations. That's awesome. It's got to be super
Yeah, it's massive.
super
Thank you.
exciting and super validating to have that happen so quickly. But before I ask my question, and with AJ being here, Shmongolia has stayed undefeated in the Sub-Saharan Africa best name. How was the experience casting for them, and what was it like being part of an RLCS, broadcast, or I guess having your own RLCS broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm glad you said that, because getting to do that on my own stream was an incredible experience. Getting to kind of market that RLCS tag on my stream and like actually mean it, that's an incredible experience. And again, I know my future in this scene isn't as a player, and so getting to kind of still be a part of the top level, just in a different role, it's incredible. So that was awesome. Wordy is such a funny dude, and I mean, people have known him in SSA as a personality for a while. I mean, he's always open to doing interviews or talking, and just overall, like, he's always open to things. And obviously, he made the World Championship last year, so that's, I really couldn't have met anybody in a better place than Wordy. And then of all the teammates he could have possibly teamed with this year, it's Guns and Snoozy, which Guns is on Shift's players to watch list, like young players to watch list. So he is incredible. And Snoozy's a very consistent, like I think he's 16 or 15. So, like that team is so talented and has such a bright future, and they're all funny. Like I've only talked to Wordy, and I met the team for the first time an hour before quals started. And I go in there, and everyone literally just started saying like rah, like just like they're so funny, and they're such an easy team to root for, and they're so friendly, and I felt so welcome. And Wordy even went on Twitter after they made Swiss again and shouted me out for streaming, which was awesome. I didn't ask for that at all. He just does that out of the kindness of his heart, because that's who he is. So this roster's funny. They're kind. They're caring. Like, they're just 3 really good guys who are really great faces. And I wish that SSA had more major spots, because I do think that if they started making the adjustments that they made in Regional 2, like if they figured that out a little earlier, I think they could be pushing for that second spot. Young Money Clan's a great team, but they also aren't from SSA. So I'm a big SSA fan now that I've done all the research. I've gotten to work with them. So I'm a big anti-invader fan. but they deserve it.
I'm with you.
And yeah, exactly. Like, it's just weird to see, and I hope RLCS does change that in the future. But for the region, it's been good and bad. Good because the teams who are on top get more attention. Bad because if you're a mid-tier team, you are now like barely making main event, if that even. But I'm glad that of all the teams that I got to talk with, it was them. I mean, they actually technically still have a chance to make the major if things go crazy wrong on Swiss stage for Limitless. So we'll see. But no, I mean, it's been such a blast. It's been an honor, really.
That's awesome. And it's interesting to me to hear you say, and like, because from like a player standpoint, right? Like, I feel like the status quo in like conventional sports for a lot of people is like, hold on as long as you can. And so like to hear you say my future in the game is not as a player, it's doing something else. And for you to have like not only like come to terms with that, but to have like found a couple something else's in such a short amount of time is very commendable. So, first, that's awesome to hear, and I'm happy to hear you say that. But secondly, I guess what like prompted you into that thinking? Like, what made you kind of like start down that path?
Yeah, so in high school, I probably had one of the best possible careers I could have had. I mean, winning multiple championships, both state and national. We were even highlighted as a top team in the nation by USA Today. So originally, I thought player was the route. I thought that was what I was kind of like meant for, like what I was ready for. I had just hit my peak of like 1915 at the time, and I still felt like I had more room to grow. Um, and so I originally that was the dream. And then again, I had the really rough decision to make, which I guess this is where I originally came to terms with this without even knowing. So I got I got offers to where if I took them, I would be in CRL right now. And not in the West, we're talking East. Like varsity programs, smaller schools who are now in CRL who I could have gone with and played. And part of me still regrets that because the player in me hurts to not be in that spot, like, having those tags or whatever the heck. But again, I mean, it's the reason why I came here to UGA is that I wanted the space to prove myself, and my main thing is that I want to be remembered for not what I do. I want to be remembered for the impact that I make on others. And so as a player, that's just simply not the route. And when I was deciding to come to UGA, that was a big part of that. Was because I always had a feeling that I had more to do for more than just me. And that goes back to my personal history, which again could go into for hours. But it's that pushed me to UGA and then pushed me to apply for the director/president spot. And then once I got that, that was the first time I actually had the first serious conversation with myself and said, like, do I really want to keep playing competitively? And we had a really talented team at the time. 3 SSLs and a GC3, and that's including me as an SSL. And we did fairly solid. There was obviously kinks to work out. I had played with the same high school teammates for 3 years, so it was a transition, but it was fun, and I still call those guys my best friends, even though I'm not playing with them anymore. So I was still thinking like, hey, like I can still play. Like there's still a route for me. And we didn't do bad in CRL quals. Not terrible at all. Definitely had room to grow and a few more series standing between us and then, but we definitely could have made a wonder run in an open or at the bottom of CRL. And then as time went on with that roster, because it was me and another freshman, because I was a freshman at the time, and then it was 2 sophomores. And then as we went through that year, it was then that spring we finished out. We actually won our first LAN that spring. And it was I think it was like a $250 thing in Atlanta. It was kind of small, but it was still a big moment for us. And then we were really like feeling good going into the summer. But then, my 2 sophomore teammates become juniors, and then me and the fellow freshmen move off campus as we're becoming sophomores, and one of my teammates loses the ability to play Rocket League through internet issues at their new place, and their place wouldn't let them fix that. So he basically decided that he wanted to try life without Rocket League. He was a ones main, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, y'all know how taxing that can be.
Hey, they're a little bit weird.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? So the moment that he kind of quit for a little bit, like that first month in the semester, which actually would have been the beginning of last semester. The moment that he quit for the first time, he kind of just realized his life was better without it, which is respectable. And so then that happened. So I still had me and my other 2 guys, and obviously we still played and we didn't do bad, but we did a little worse because like there was multiple weeks in a row where we were on like maybe 10 or 15, and that's not because we didn't want to play. It's because of life and how busy things got.
Right.
Both for me and all the roles I was doing, and plus school, and then also for all of them plus school. And like for example, like one of my teammates is a regional spike ball professional, which is just nuts. And then my other teammate was the valedictorian at his high school. So those are guys who are just extremely busy in things other than Rocket League, obviously. And so then after last semester, as in this past fall, then I lost them, which I still have one of them, but he's kind of on and off right now, so I don't really like count on him for games every week. And then that was the first time that I actually considered retiring. Because I always knew the moment I came here that I wasn't going to be a player forever. Like maybe I go till I graduate and then call it a day. But with how miserable it became going from an SSL team to maybe an average GC1 team because we're pulling players up. We don't have a lot of depth, so that's just kind of how it is. Again, we're a non-scholarship program, so we don't really have much of an option. So kind of going from that has been extremely demoralizing this semester for me, and it's been a lot of late nights, like really thinking about it and plotting it out. But I
Also-
keep doing it. Or yeah, go for it.
Also, by like just to clarify for everybody, by not playing, you're talking about not playing competitively, right? Like you still like jump on the game and play, but like just not trying, like putting everything into competing.
Yeah, like if I was gonna quote unquote retire, like I would barely be playing Rocket League.
Fair?
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like definitely
It-
less than like 10 or 7 past 2 type of stuff.
That was my next question. By 10 or 15, you meant 10 or 15 past 2?
Yes, sorry.
Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
But yeah, so that was hard for me because literally a year and a half ago I was on the national stage winning on my state championship stages talking like it was an incredible experience and it's such a quick fall and as a competitor it hurts so much and I've talked about this a lot in my community and in the Southeast and to my friends and on my streams and we've had really good discussions about it. So I still plan on playing and I still am. Granted, with NACE now deciding to start charging programs money for the open divisions, I don't think we'll be in NACE anymore, but we are still competing in the Southeast and in some other national tournaments and stuff like that. So it's been the first time that I actually considered like quitting for real, and I almost really thought about just dropping out, but there's too much on the line for us. Like we have a lot of lands on the line this semester because of what we did in the fall. Like we have a lot of like full year seasons we're in, not just semester based. But yeah, that's how my teammates that's how they kind of faded out. I think that was the original question.
Yeah, but I mean, it's noble that you're finding other pursuits as well, trying to. I mean, for the most part, like stay in a scene. I feel like is really like the ultimate goal, and that's kind of where partially where this podcast, kind of grew from. At first, a joke about getting media passes to go to RLCS events, and we've been fortunate enough to do that. I'd love to be able to go to some more collegiate LAN events. I've been as a coach. I've been to one as a player, but would love to cover some. That would be fun. I think that.
Yeah, I still need to get some of those too.
Yeah, I think CRL like as a blanket, right? Not like the CRL league, but like collegiate Rocket League is such a fun space. I think it really gives the students a big opportunity, yourself included, like a platform to express yourself as a human being and as an individual. I think some of the personalities that you see in the collegiate level is better than that in the pros, right? And I'm sure that there's media training and all kinds of stuff that goes into the pro stuff, and that's part of the reason. But like we were talking about before the recording, Red and I were talking about the EXO interview, on the mainstream, right? Like that's the kind of personality that people want to see, and that's the kind of personality that you're able to bring to your streams and to bring to your casting because you've been a player, you've been in those situations, and so it's just another dimension that you can kind of bring.
Yeah, funny enough that you mentioned that interview. I definitely want to be memorable, but I definitely don't want to be memorable in that way.
Hey, I mean,
that was a crazy call out from him, which I think was hilarious. But I can't imagine what RLCS production was doing in that moment.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that they let it go through.
I mean, that's probably the most admirable thing you could have done. I don't think you can mute him, but that was funny. I feel bad for Stumpy, but I don't know. He's had a lot of NA haters recently, so maybe karma just comes around. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that one. But oh man, I totally lost my train of thought there for a second.
I'm passing it on.
It's just it's a day.
I get on tangents. That's partly my bad.
Hey, that makes it easier for us, right? Because you can continue to make the conversation happen. But we'll have to stay tuned for your Swiss, and at the end we'll talk about where everybody can find you, where all your links are, and things like that. But moving forward for you, actually, you know what? Before we go for that, let's touch on the last thing that I think is cool, and I think a lot of people will find interesting is helping out with the ambassador program at Ghost Gaming.
Yeah.
how did you first get involved with Ghost Gaming, and how has your role transitioned with them into where you're at now?
Yeah, so Ghost is an Atlanta-based esports company. They're the only thing that we have, like esports wise in terms of pro teams. The next closest would be Texas. That'd be Optic and all that. So they're kind of all we have. And so originally, as players, me and my two teammates, the moment that we won and kind of went on our run and was recognized nationally, we had our friends and coaches and higher levels were like, "Hey, you gotta meet the CEO of Ghost. Like, you've got to meet this guy, and you guys have got to talk and just like just talk esports." So I met Todd Harris at CECC in 2022 when it was in Atlanta. Which, funny enough, I
Okay.
also met Buddy and some of the Northwood guys there too. So that was my first time meeting basically a lot of my high level friends. Funny enough. But yeah, so met him, and obviously it was a pretty incredible run that we had. And so he kind of sat down and we talked about esports as a business, which was extremely eye opening for me because again, I had only been a player up to that point. And so from there, I then actually wanted to be involved. Like I knew that Ghost probably wasn't going to do much in Rocky League. They were kind of already talking about it, and you could tell there wasn't a whole lot of org support on because esports isn't as profitable as it used to be. And they're still working. I mean, everyone's still dealing with that. That's just kind of how esports is right now. But with that, it only opened the doors for me to then get involved from a managerial side. And so the moment I got here at UGA and I took over the program before taking my first class, I think that for Todd really opened his eyes on my talents and that I wasn't just a player. And so from there, we got into conversations, and then I have a mentor. His name's PK. He has been a massive part of my career and mentoring me into becoming who I am. And so he got involved in Ghost because he's been working on community initiatives for Ghost to get involved as like not just a comp org. Like, we want to build community, we want to build family, we want to create experiences for everybody, not just the top 0.1% of players that we sign or whatever, or the content creators in the same way. So with that, that's how the Ghost Academy got created, which my mentor is the director of. And then from there, the Ghost Ambassador program was something that me and my mentor have been working on for about a year. My entire senior year, we kind of been talking about like a future where we can get involved in our career path in professional esports early on, kind of like a training program almost. It has taken on a way different shape than that in a good way, which I'll get into. But then into that, then when we were talking about the very first ambassadors to come on the program and to be the ones to kind of help shape it, then I got to meet with Todd a lot more. We started talking, like, we were really talking business, which as an 18-year-old was kind of nuts. And then with that, then I was kind of one of the key parts of the program, and I kind of got to help shape it. That's why I'm now lead ambassador, because I kind of just had to get my experience in, and now I'm still doing the same thing. I'm just officially named now.
Right.
But I was a key part in making that program, and then it became, all right, let's get all the leaders from all the colleges in Georgia. Like, let's bring in everybody, and let's really make a hub for developing the future of esports, because Atlanta has slowly become a home for a lot of different events. Like Rainbow Six had a major here. Brawlhalla's World Championships were here. There's some very, very, very light / medium weight rumors that Rocket League may be trying to do something here. I mean, it's slowly becoming a home for tournaments, and that's also just because of it's Atlanta. But there's so many minds coming together now that we bring in the ambassador program, that it's become so much more than just career development. Now we actually are doing, like, we're working events. We're helping organize major events for kids, for middle school, high school, collegiate, even professional. Like, we're really running stuff now, and that's what the ambassador program has become now. Is, hey, look, like you are in your spot here because you are a leader in your respective space, your respective college, in your respective area of the state. But now we're actually going to get some work done, and now people are actually getting to make a name for themselves. And that is one of the most special parts about my job there, is that I get to help people do that. It is ghost mentoring, but in terms of the action, it's the people themselves and all of us working together. Like I had, I think, almost the entire ambassador program work with me on UGA's first gaming land since 2018. We call it Dog Hack. It's a little play on DreamHack.
And the dog pound, I
So
get it.
exactly right. I thought it was pretty cool.
It's clever.
So
Punny even.
yeah. I did not come up with it. I can't take credit for that. One of my members did, so I got to give him credit. But I mean that was incredible. That was the first time the ambassador program actually did something in person professionally together, and it went well. It went great. We may have flipped our student center's breakers a few times. That was an experience that I'm probably not supposed to say, but I don't care. We didn't do anything illegal. But it was a really fun experience that brought everybody together. And now we have created a culture where we are, funny enough, cultivating leaders and the future of who's going to take over esports, and not just in Georgia. A few of our members are working with like Gen G, MSI, because that's the other cool thing is that Ghost doesn't force you to sit here and only work with Ghost. That's not the point of the program. If you're a content creator, that's a different story, which one of our ambassadors actually has become a signed content creator, which that's another really cool thing.
Are you talking about Hannah?
Yeah, it's about Hana. Yeah. She's incredible, and she's also a UGA, so we work together a lot, and we've been to a lot of events together. She's always been great. She was actually also a caster at the Kentucky event, so that was really cool. She's been getting into casting recently, and it's been going well for her as well. But
and
but
funny you
yeah.
mentioned her. We're gonna be talking to her probably in the next couple weeks.
Oh, you should have had us on together.
I know.
we could have talked
that'd
for
have been cool.
hours. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe in the future. Maybe in the future.
And well, we got a couple weeks in between RLCS events and the majors, so
Hey, let us
Always-
know. We would
always
love
happy.
to. Yeah, we can talk your ear off for sure. But to wrap up that point about the program. So yeah, so that's kind of what it became. Was now it's a space for creativity and culture and ideas to thrive, rather than, hey, we're gonna try and help you become this. Like, hey, we're gonna do that, but we're also gonna make sure that you blow up for who you are, and we're gonna help put you in the space to do that. So it's a really cool program, and I hope we end up growing to a point where this becomes like a national thing, like what Gen G does, or like a southeastern thing. I mean, I don't know where it's gonna go, because we've only been doing this it'll become a year in 2 weeks. So the program is still so young, but it's come so far, and that's because of the work that Todd and PK and me have gotten to all do, and it's been really cool to see. But yeah, that's the brief. Well, not really brief. That's the overview.
okay. Well, with that, I usually like to kind of leave off with a couple of questions. The first of which being, you said it yourself that your future in this game is not as a player. What are kind of your goals moving forward, either short term or long term, for Rocket League, and where do you think it can take you?
Yeah, well, as a coach, I'm helping at the high school level, and I don't think I mean, I could probably coach at an RLCS level, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. I still have a lot in between. I also, instead of kind of moving up, I've added games to my roster, so now I coach Fortnite as well. And I kind of like that being my more community role. So I think coaching wise, I think it'll stay probably around the collegiate high school level. If I get the opportunity to do professionally, I'd love to. But I've only been doing that for a short amount of time with a very select group of kids and teams. So, we'll see how that goes. I think my biggest thing now going forward is casting. Because of how quick it's grown, and because of everything I get to be involved in, and now I'm getting to travel, like it's actually starting to become a real thing now for me. So casting wise, I think that me getting to do an RLCS team stream is solid. I've met Graybeard. I've talked with him. He's a great guy. I would love for there to be a world where I end up on an RLCS mainstream of some kind. I do believe that will probably be in a minor region. I don't think that I'm going to get the chance to break through in definitely not in Europe. And I don't think I think North America's a little too packed for that to happen. But in a region like SSA or maybe even APAC, even though I'd have to wake up at ungodly hours to do it, I think that'd be cool. It'd be cool to kind of help steer the ship there in those regions and kind of help them on their rise, similar to what I've done in every other program I've been in up to this point. Funny enough. So I think that's my biggest thing. As a director, I hope that esports at UGA continues to grow, which it has, and people are starting to finally come around. I think when I do my TED Talk in a month, I think it will really open eyes, and I'm hoping the club will kind of like we've already exponentially like grown and doubled in the last like 7-8 months, and it's been incredible to watch. But there's always more we can do. There's more lives we can affect. There's more people we can help find. Those who maybe are too scared to reach out themselves, and I'm hoping that as people see it, they will not be so worried about supporting it or sponsoring it or joining. And that goes for, business owners, kids, students. I mean, that goes for everybody at that point. And in Ghost, with my multiple positions, I would hope that there's a future where I end up joining the management team, or if things don't end up panning out at Ghost, maybe I'll end up at another org. I'm not sure where I'm gonna go after college. I really don't know where I'm gonna go. I still have time to figure that out. I got like 2.5 years, but I would hope that it is in esports. I hope esports continues to grow, and then I end up I'm hoping that my salary job is in management, and then I hope that my side job will be in casting, pretty much. But we'll see.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
it'll be an interesting thing. My backup is a pretty good backup. Like Atlanta's a hub for sports, so I think sports casting or sports management. I think no matter where I end up, I'll be in there. It's just a matter of if esports is sustainable enough for me to do it as a career.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty big right around there.
Oh,
I do
I mean,
have a
yeah.
question for you.
Mhm.
Do you coach any other games besides Fortnite and Rocket League?
As of right now, no. I haven't had the time or ability to really learn. I would love to end up being like a Valorant or a Rainbow Six coach, like something where it's like full teams. Because Rocket League's
Gotcha.
like Rocket League's great and all, but now it's kind of second nature to me, to where like I can help a champ become a GC fairly easily. And I don't say that in like a bragging way. Like I've just been
Right.
playing this game for way too long to where that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
And in Fortnite, I've been fortunate enough to kind of pick it up quick. I've had a few kids reach Unreal from like Diamond, so that's been really cool. I mean, I don't know. My experience in other games is all like kind of around the same. Like Madden, 2K, Rainbow Six, Valorant, it's all kind of around that like average level. So maybe once I hang up the sticks as a player, maybe I'll kind of go more into that. But I don't know. It's weird. It really depends on what happens in Fortnite and Rocket League, because who knows if I'll end up actually becoming like a professional or semi-professional coach there.
So my next question for you would be, which one do you prefer? But it sounds like you would prefer Fortnite right now, right?
Funny enough, I would definitely prefer Rocket League.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
I know 100% that I'm gonna love Rocket League, no matter if I'm playing it or not, like heavily. I have a few friends who have gotten salaried jobs as Rocket League coaches at colleges. I see myself in those shoes fairly easily. I think with my resume, I think that's a very fitting job for me, and I would be willing to travel to surrounding colleges. I can already think of a few whose directors have talked with me about hiring me when I graduate, and that's kind of crazy. So there's still so much time. But I know I can do that. I know that no matter what the situation is, I can coach Rocket League. Fortnite, I'm still relatively new to, but I'm fairly good at it.
Interesting.
Cool.
But we do want to make sure that before I have one more question, but I'll save it for the end.
Mhm.
We like to roll out the red carpet. Go ahead and plug yourself. Tell people where they can find your streams, where they can see your own RLCS caliber stream, and all of that stuff.
And where
Yeah,
we'll be able to
so-
see your TED Talk.
Ooh. Yeah, so I'll start with that. So the TED Talk, if you look up TEDx UGA, that's TED and the letter X UGA, you'll see registration for it. Unfortunately, they charge for both the physical and virtual show, but I think tickets are like $5. It'll be a pretty major event. I think we're expecting to reach like millions across the Southeast and across the world, because it'll be live streamed across like everywhere. So that'll be really cool. If you are in the Athens or the Georgia area and you want to see it, then you also will be able to come to Athens and purchase tickets. Well, you'll be able to purchase them online. Then you'll be able to come to Athens to see it. All that can be found at tedxuga.com. And then on Twitter and Twitch, my two main platforms, I am DJTJRL. That's 6 letters. I try to make it as easy as possible for people. For esports at UGA, you can literally just look up esports at UGA and you will find our link tree. We are popular enough, believe it or not. So you'll find us pretty easily there, and you can find me through there easily as well. I always keep my DMs open. I love talking to people and helping out. So you can always find me in my Discord through the server. And then, I mean, yeah, I don't really need to plug my Instagram because it's a weird username anyways, but yeah.
Hey, fair. But also,
Hit him with the question.
all of your links, we'll make sure to put them in the episode description, and so people can follow those if they're so inclined. But we always like to leave off our podcast with a great question, and that is, when is the best time to go boost over ball?
Ooh, I should have known y'all were gonna pull something like this since it's literally the name of the dang podcast. The best time to go for boost over ball. Is there a right answer?
It's any answer that
No.
you feel like. We've gotten a lot of good ones.
Oh man, I hate that I'm on all three sides of it, like player, caster, coach. I feel so conflicted internally. Boost over ball. You know what? I'm gonna go with my coaching perspective. I'm gonna say never.
Okay.
Fair
I don't know
enough.
if that's unpopular or not, but I'm gonna say never.
It seems to be the popular answer.
Yeah. I mean,
That seems like the most sane answer. I can go to sleep happy with that one.
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you could go to sleep knowing that you and apparently Jack share the same mindset, because his
Oh, hey,
answer
I'll
was
take it.
his answer was never. That's the fundamental rule of Rocket League.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Rule 1's pretty fundamental, but I'm not a professional.
Hey, yeah. Well, he's European. He's a little bit weird.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then you get Stacks that
Yeah,
says,
him and Everstacks too.
yeah, and Stacks who says all the time you need to have 100 boost to be able to celebrate with the other team.
Yeah.
Ooh, fair point. Fair point.
But thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while, so I hope you had a good time. I hope our listeners, I'm sure they enjoyed hearing you talk about your career, your goals, and your journey to there. It's very interesting, and we can't thank you enough for making the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a blast the next few years of my career. It'll be interesting to see kind of where I end up, but no matter what, I mean, getting to do stuff like this is one of the coolest parts of my career. So I appreciate y'all having me on. Funny enough, I actually have another podcast that I just got booked for in like a week. So I'm gonna
man.
be talking about myself a lot here. So I appreciate y'all letting me yap for a little bit.
Heck
Anytime.
yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Of course.
And you're always welcome back.
Hey, if me and Hana could talk about Southeastern esports for hours, so if y'all wanna do that, let me know.
Let's make it happen.
And we definitely should.
Sure.
Also, I looked up the TED Talk. It's
Yeah.
the Friday of Copenhagen. So
Is
we
it
could
actually?
yeah. We could we're doing the meetup at we don't know where yet, but we could watch that too.
Yeah, we definitely could.
Hey, well, if y'all are
Yeah.
in the Athens area, let me know, or anywhere close.
How
Cool.
the real question is, if we wanted to host a watch party on Twitch for it, how quickly would we get taken down?
Ooh.
Ooh, that might be a speed run there.
We're
That
not
might be
recording,
a-
right? I don't think I can legally answer that.
Fair.
all I know is that there's a lot of money and professionals. Like, this is supposed to be broadcasted like internationally. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that'd be cool. That'd be
I
fun to
mean, yeah,
watch.
it's definitely going to be kind of the peak of my career so far. I would hope that I
Yeah.
keep going, but we'll see.
That'll be awesome.
Fair. But we'll be tuning in. I'm sure everybody else will as well. But thank you again
For
for taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure, y'all.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and we hope you guys have a fantastic day. With that, we will wrap up for today's episode. We would like to thank you so much for listening. We'd like to remind you to please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. Those 5 stars really help us out, really helps us grow our show. Also, please check out our YouTube, our Twitch, our TikTok, and our merch store. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. Remember also to check out DJTJ's socials and his TED Talk that will be in the episode description below. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, www.boostoverball.com, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.